Welcome, everyone. This is the latest All Sports Betting Podcast, Cricket World Cup previews. And we move on to Thursday's match this week. It's between West Indies and India at Old Trafford. Absolute heartbreak for the West Indies in their previous fixture. Carlos Brathwaite looked like getting them over the line, and that would have been a win that kept them in the World Cup. But now they're out of it. Pretty much just pride left to play for against an unbeaten Indian side. Who are just really cruising along at the moment, Kev. On the face of things, India are on 1-3 favourites, rightly so. Is this, I'm not calling it a banana skin, but is this a match where there's a danger of a shock because of the circumstances?
Well, first and foremost, West Indies aren't quite out of this tournament yet, are they? They can still reach England's 9-point total. With 3 wins, and when you think they've got Sri Lanka and Afghanistan to come, if they win this, you'd back them to finish on 9 points. Okay, it might be that that's still not enough, but there's no guarantees that England get another point in this tournament, as we've said a few times. So yeah, whilst you're right about Saturday being a heartache for them, they probably expected to be out of the tournament by now, but it's not actually the case. Yes, they need an awful lot of results to go their way. But the fixtures, when you look at them on paper, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I think there is a potential for a slip up here, Steve, just because of the danger that the West Indies can provide. They're a hell of a lot more dangerous than Afghanistan, for example. And India only just beat Afghanistan on Saturday. It was a crazy day, wasn't it, Saturday? The 2 favourites, New Zealand and India, both laboured over the line. And actually, the only favourite really since then that's looked in any way convincing was Australia, which is good for us, obviously, because we've talked up their chances all through the tournament. South Africa lost to Pakistan, and New Zealand lost to Pakistan. So it's not been a good week for the favourites, has it, when you add in England against Australia and England against Sri Lanka prior to that. So I'm not sure I'd be steaming in on India at 1-3, even though they're the likeliest winners here. Might not be the worst ground in the world for West Indies to be taking them on either.
Yeah, it's a pretty good batting track usually at Old Trafford, isn't it? It's been dry the last couple of days. Forecast is pretty good. So, all things considered, there's a good chance for the West Indies it kind of suits their style, doesn't it, this ground?
Yeah, exactly that. Their batsmen, if they get out, they're going to get themselves out, which obviously they did against New Zealand, didn't they? But if they can find someone to take responsibility, and it's been encouraging that in the lead up to the game, apparently Holder and Gale have both told the young lads that one of them needs to take responsibility. To be fair to West Indies, we should say that they were so unlucky in that game against New Zealand that Evan Lewis went lame in the first over in the field. So he basically got named in the side and couldn't compete at all in the match. That meant Shea Hope went up to open. He's usually the one who takes that responsibility and glues it all together whilst the big hitters play around him. And of course, he faced the new ball. Trent Boult got him with a good one early doors, and the rest was history. But yeah, if they do find that, then there's no demons in this Indian attack, and they know it pretty well because West Indies played a ODI series down in India towards the end of last year, and they lost 3-1, but they were competitive, and much more competitive than that tale says, actually. They tied the second game of the series. They probably should have won it, but Jasprit Bumrah defended nothing in the final over, as only he can. And that would have made the series 1-1. And then they went and won the next game. So they could feasibly have been 2-1 up in that series in India. There was no Chris Gale for the West Indies, no Nicholas Pooran, no Evan Lewis, no Andre Russell either, but obviously he's not going to be here in this tournament now that he's been ruled out of it. But there were a couple of bowlers that they were short of as well. So, based on that effort alone, West Indies could be competitive here, just as long as someone takes that responsibility.
Okay, on to some bets for the game then. And you're taking West Indies to hit more than 7.5 sixes. So does this suggest that you think they may be here for a good time rather than a long time?
Yes and no. whatever happens from now onwards, if the West Indies do stay in this competition, they've got to sort their net run rate out. So, I'm expecting whatever happens here for the West Indies to stick India into bat, or India to bat first if they win the toss. And if India get shot out for something low, which probably unlikely, you'd have to say, although they're 4, 5, and 6 aren't exactly convincing themselves, are they, at the minute? If they do get shot out for something low, there's no point in Gale playing himself in or any of that. He's got free license to tee off. It's not just win the game now, it's get the run rate sorted out. Obviously, their best chance of getting the run rate sorted out is against Afghanistan. We all know that, but they're going to have to chip in around that. Whatever the total they're chasing, they can't get there in the 50th over. It's pointless, really. So I think that's going to assist to them hitting sixes. The ground's small enough, isn't it? We saw that the other day. I mean, Gale was clearing them out of the ground. Carlos Brathwaite, I lost count of how many sixes he hit. I think Kemar Roach even hit a 6 in that game, actually. One of the fast bowlers straight down the ground. Obviously, there's Hetmeyer, who hit 16 sixes in those five ODIs against India towards the end of last year. And as I've mentioned, if he plays, there's Evan Lewis and Nicholas Paran as well. They all hit sixes. And this Indian attack can go around the park. So, I think West Indies to hit 8 sixes is the way forward in terms of that kind of line. I wouldn't really want to get involved in a line that involves Indians, and then you've got Vijay Shankar and Kedar Jadhav coming in relatively early and pissing about. You're probably not going to get your dough then. So I'll take the Indians out of the equation, Steve, and I'll just rely on the West Indies big hitters. They're not going to be running singles, are they? So there's plenty of spin for them to get stuck into. Quite like that line.
I think I like that one as well, actually. Does look a very appealing bet, even if
just to back it up a bit further, Steve, in that series, West Indies sixes totals were 9 in the first game, 11 in the second game, 12 in the third game. Those two there are the 2 games they were most competitive in. They only put up 153 in the fourth game, but they still hit 5 sixes. So any normal kind of total would have got them to 8. And the fifth game, the series was done and dusted by then, and no one really cared. They only made 104, but they did still hit 6 along the way. But the 3 games that were really competitive between the two, they hit 9, 11, and 12. Old Trafford's probably no bigger than any of the grounds they played on in that series. And as I say, they've got 3 gun hitters back since then. So and India played a first choice bowling attack. Bumrah played, Bhuvi Kumar played, Kuldeep Yadav played, and Chahal played. So there's nothing that West Indies haven't seen before. So yeah, I think that's the way to play the sixes.
All right, on to your second bet for the game. You're taking Virat Kohli to score over 44.5 runs. I mean, it's a pretty self-explanatory bet, really. I think if you take Kohli's overs anywhere in the world, you don't really need to provide a reason for it. But I don't know if there's anything specific about this matchup.
But you want me to? Well, first and foremost, he comes into the tournament off the back of he comes into the match off the back of 3 straight 50s in the tournament, doesn't he? Averages 70.76 against the West Indies over 30 odd ODIs, 7 tons, 9 50s. 4 of those tons have come in his last 6 innings, 3 of which are in that series I just mentioned just previously. He's in insane form. He's not one that gets spooked by the pace, is he? He's already scored 50 on this ground against Pakistan. Actually, his runs line's really low with Ladbrokes Coral. You can actually get 52.5 if you shopped around. Not that you'd want to. You obviously want to be on the lowest line, but it just highlights the differential that we keep on seeing between the bookmakers. But yeah, I mean, effectively 16 times in roughly 34 innings, I think it is. He's reached 50 or more. So every chance of that happening here on another feather bed of a batting wicket.
Yeah, Virat Kohli. There's a good question for you then. Who would you, in this format of the game, in the 50 over format of the game, which of these batsmen would you take if you had to? Would you have Kohli, Root, Williamson, Steve Smith, or Babar Azam?
Williamson.
Interesting one, because you think he's just got the better sort of variation in this format of the game to go big or to grind?
There's that. Kohli's record when batting first isn't particularly great. Completely the opposite when he chases, averages something like 80 in run chases. Not always the best pacer of an innings when it comes to setting a target, though. Whereas Kane Williams, he's just made 2 tons and he doing that. I think he's quality. I'd take him in all 3 formats.
Good answer. Right. Final bet for the game. West Indies batting lineup. Top batsman, you're going for Hetmeyer. I believe this is someone you've had a nibble at before in this tournament. About time he delivered.
You say that. I mean, he comes into the game off the back of a couple of 50s, doesn't he? Really should have gone on against New Zealand here on Saturday. Got foxed out by that Lockie Ferguson slower ball. Magical piece of bowling, wasn't it? True class. To be fair, he should have gone on against Bangladesh at Taunton as well, shouldn't he? 50 and out for him there. There's a big one coming from him. He's far too good not to deliver a big innings. In that series against India, which probably launched him on the world stage, certainly launched him to an IPL career. He went 106, 94, 37. I'm not too worried about the 13 and 9 in the last 2 games. The West Indies weren't really competitive in them at all. But in the games that they were competitive, he made 106 and 94, 37. Anything along those lines, likely to be enough here. Obviously, Chris Gale's the main danger. But he likes spin. Does Hetmeyer. He's one of the best players of spin in the world game. If you watched him in the Caribbean Premier League last year, he was unstoppable when teams bowled spin to him. I don't even know why they bothered bowling spin to him, but there you go. That's another argument. And obviously India are going to sling down at least 20 overs of it, if not more. So played in the IPL, so he'll understand how it all works. 11-2. If it is a 2-horse race between him and Gale, and it probably isn't. But if you're looking at sort of 60 or 70 to top score, maybe a few more than that. I don't think there's too many batsmen in this lineup. Obviously, Hope would be one of them, but don't think there's too many others that are reliable for 60 or 70. So you're taking 11-2 in a maximum of 3-horse race, I think.
Yeah, the Caribbean Premier League was pretty good, actually, weren't it? I did enjoy that, must say. Really entertaining event. And
probably the most underrated T20 tournament that there is, actually, Steve. I'm looking forward to this year's renewal.
Really catchy theme tunes as well they got going there.
Yeah, September for this one, so it should be a really good one. Who knows, we might even preview 1 or 2 of it on this podcast.
Yeah, and those sort of tournaments, they give players like Hetmeyer and that a good chance to develop their game, I suppose. And
Puran would be another one that come out of that tournament.
Yeah. So, let's hope for a good game. I think it will be a good game, actually, at Old Trafford. Hopefully the West Indies turn up and give India a right good game here. Good spectacle and, maybe a chance, probably more of a chance than the odds would suggest of a surprise, but India still deserving favourites. All right, brilliant. Thanks for your thoughts, Kev. Good luck with the picks, and we'll be back for the next match on Friday.
Absolutely. Cheers, Steve. All the best.
Cheers.